If you guys were watching the EUYC stream, you might have seen the Zoroark VStar deck that popped up alongside the Radiant Charger bug. And apparently this is the guy that played it. So, congrats on being the only guy sociopathic enough to actually play Zoroark VStar at UYC in like the year 2025. I went ahead and played the list, and it was alright. I'm not going to gas up the list too much, but I've also always been a Zoroark down player. But I do think with all the pieces that we have right now, the fan run with the Dodrio package is really neat. And one of the best things about it, actually, is the fact that the Zoroark V can attack for no energy and then do 30 damage. This allows you to easily kill a Badoo, and, just go from there. Other than that, we just got like a lot of cards like the Silene to recycle stuff. This will allow you to play super aggressively with like your check-in shoes, your V-Star power, and your preferences research, not having to worry too much about it. And will also allow you to focus more on just pumping as much stuff onto the field. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoy the matches. Alrighty, getting started with the matches here. I know I kind of talked down the deck a little bit, but I think the deck plays fine. I think the deck is kind of okay. I'm not sure how much I'd hedge my bets on it, because if I'm looking for a rogue deck, it doesn't meet my criteria, because it's kind of honest. But I will say the nice thing about it is that we haven't seen a lot of these like super aggressive decks popping up recently, like Morino, like Algae Fire, like Archalon, and they're all doing pretty alright in the metagame. So I think there is some room for this deck, and I think the fact that I can reach Oka numbers against multiple, top decks is nice. These things like, Charizard or Dragon Ball aren't really safe. But I do think, like, learning to get the setup here was awkward, because my first few matches, I was always prioritizing run spin, and the spin is like nice because you can grab you double Dodrio, double Doduo, and a Dodrio, which is really nice. And sometimes if you actually start the game with an extra Dodrio, that's really good. But I kind of learned how important the Area Zero was, because like you don't want to be benching Gengar without your Area Zero effect in play, and so getting the Area Zero effect active is like the most crucial part of the deck. It does kind of gimp your setup a little bit. One thing I'm like ultimately surprised this deck doesn't run is like a Squawkabilly, only because like we have so much space for other stuff on the bench. Like not a whole lot of space to the point that like we always can bench it, but it would be nice for increasing the consistency. And we run double Pow Pad plus a Silene, or even double Silene. So I'm actually just like shocked we don't run it in here. Though I didn't mess around with the list too much. I don't think that was my goal when I wanted to play this deck. But yeah, just a simple observation. We do have the Raging Bolt going second here, but they're not honestly off to a great start here, and they're kind of locked on the field with how little that they have. I believe they are going to motivate me, which is somewhat good because it does actually put damage onto my Zoroark, which is one of my win conditions. It's just getting enough damage onto the field, and so I can easily just go ahead and evolve this, pop everything, and now I have to make the choice of whether or not I want to use the switch there or the boss's orders, and I ultimately choose no, because I think my likelihood of drawing into a research or an Iona off of this hand specifically would have netted me somewhere, but it doesn't, so we're stuck in a somewhat bad position, at least in terms of like actually getting my attacker setup, because I am saying on another Zoroark V, which is not bad, I have double Dodrio, so I'm okay. Not the best place in the world, but I'm okay. I'm also going to go ahead and Nest out, or use Nest Ball on the Zoroark. There's really not a whole lot I want to fetch out of the deck at this point, and so I'd rather take the opportunity to, draw one less card, because I am in a really bad position with my current field state, which is why I'm like, okay, if I could take one extra card out, then that would be good. Also, go ahead and just boss up the Hoot Hoot, because I figured that if there was a way they were taking a multi-prize knockout this turn, it would be through the use of a card like Prime Catcher, and so I like to be able to strip them that option if possible, which is why I prioritize taking down the Hoot Hoot. That said, they are able to get just another Hoot Hoot down, so I'm really not safe from it at all. So we're just going to go ahead and take the Revenge Knockout with the Road Fan here. This is kind of a fine situation. We end up just trading one prizers, which won't matter too much, as both our one prizers kind of don't matter. Is what it is. And if I'm able to take the knockout on this, I can continue my like take 3 knockouts to win the game. And my opponent is still also in the same play where they have to take 3 knockouts. The only issue is that I absolutely have to find the double colorless energy this turn, and I'm lucky enough that I do. And also, thanks to the Radiant Charge Bug, we're gonna get some extra damage on, though, I don't think that was too necessary. We're not in a great position still, but hitting the research off of this is definitely going to give me enough gas for the following turn. And if they end up knocking my Zoroark out here, I can at least put out the other Zoroark V in my hand and go from there. And then between the double to duo draw and the preferences research, I'm pretty sure I can find a way to get max damage, though it won't be completely easy. One thing that's kind of glossed over here is the Radiant Charge Bug, because the text is not as good as you think it is. It says when you attach an energy to a V Pokemon, it takes damage, so this doesn't even work against the majority of the Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field. But notably, it's actually a trigger for yourself, which is the neat part here. We don't really want to run another, what's it called? We don't really care to run another Radiant Pokemon that slot. Like, we don't have enough energies for Ninja, we're not going to throw the Fire Energy for Zard, and, basically ignore our whole game plan. Radiant Serena doesn't work, obviously, so we're really stripped down the options that we can run, and the Charge Bug is actually kind of a genius move here. They're actually going to generously give us the Area 0 on our side of the field, which means we don't have to worry about what we're benching, and it also means we don't have to look for an Area 0. Not too much of a concern, because I do believe we still have 3 of them in the deck, and quite a lot of draw power coming up, but, it is what it is. But between that and the double Gengar, I do believe that we'll be able to easily find this knockout here, even through the Bravery Charm that is a little bit annoying. I do think that this deck is in a very slightly awkward spot. It's just because it's a 2-prize deck that wants to go first, but it's also supposed to be like an aggro combo deck as well. So it just sucks when you're into matchups like this and you end up having to forfeit a 2-prizer first as they go second, because you ultimately want to claim first, right? So it just sucks to be in those positions sometimes. I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball away my Cypher Maniac and my Palpad here. I think there is a consideration for using the Dodrio first, and then discarding Cypher Maniac plus whatever other card I draw off of it. But I think it is too awkward, and I really don't need the Palpad value of this game to get me through the rest of it. I'm also going to go ahead and just double Gengar out of my deck because I really don't need it, and we line up into a bunch of energies. I'm still missing the KO here, which is a bit unfortunate. I also placed out the Fez, which I think was a mistake on my end. I think what I was supposed to do was to just go for the Gengar, but I went for the optimal, for the, not the optimal, the extra line instead, where I'm trying to get like as much value as I possibly can here. And, thankfully we do get enough to just take the knockout here. That said, if you wanted to absolutely play it safe, you would just go ahead and Nest Ball or not Nest Ball, but you would just get the Gengar out. That said, one of my few opponents' win conditions here is taking the knockout against me and then putting me under Iono. So if they Iono me, then I'm in a really bad spot. So I really kind of feel like I need the Fez anyways, and I thought it was a safe gamble just because we have so many copies of all these cards still in our deck that I was like, okay, if I don't hit this, I'm gonna lose, right? But even if I put the Gengar down, I think there's still a chance I can lose to Iono. So that's the whole reason I'm going down that line. As my opponent is going to go ahead and try to establish much more of their field here, there is the Iono, as we called it, and we do thankfully get the damage pump here. The only thing that we are currently missing is the DTE and the damage pump. And I will say, it was a little unfortunate because we just ended up putting a bunch of our double turbo energies to the bottom of the deck with the Iono, and I currently don't have a way in my hand of reshuffling the deck. So I don't really know where to go from there, but I'm sure we can figure it out. And we also have the Silene here. On average, Silene will flip one head, so we really get a choice of do we want to fetch for the Zoroark or do we want to fetch for the double turbo energy? In this case, I don't even remember what's in my deck, but I decided to grab the double turbo energy instead because we have both the Zoroark VStar and the Ultra Balls in our deck, which I think would be the best case scenario here because it gives you the highest odds of actually drawing into the Zoroark here. And thankfully we do get the Ultra Ball as I predicted here. And it's going to pair well with our double turbo energy that we salvage off the top of the deck with the Silene. And then we're just going to go ahead and get the knockout here. Amazing work. Alright. Now we got game 2. So that's just kind of like the general ebb and flow of the deck, in that you're trying to establish a big field as possible and trying to set a lot of avenues for draw between your very heavy draw supporters and the research, as well as the minuscule draws with like the Dodrio and your V-Star power that can help you get set up even earlier or even faster earlier on. This is one of those games that I'm like, I really want to grab the fan road on because it gets set me up super well, but I have the Area 0 in my hand, so I feel like I just can't throw away this opportunity to get the Terapagos in play. And then we'll just go ahead and take a measly 10 damage here. I don't think this is ultimately going to matter, but it's whatever. And I will set my Terapagos up here. The reasoning behind this thought, as opposed to saying them as Zoroark, is that the Zoroarks are going to have a lot of HP down the line. And so there's a chance that Charizard might not be able to knock it out, even after a few knockouts happen on my side of the field. And so I'd rather the spare damage go onto the Terapagos. I could have also given the Charge Bug for free, but I kind of like the Charge Bug enabling some extra damage I might be like able to add on to the field here, which is why I don't go down that route. And then we're just going to go ahead and waste this Prime Catcher here, unfortunately. Pulled the trigger a little bit early, but we do have the Phantom Star to hopefully get us a little bit further. Rotom coming one turn too late, but it's fine. It's fine. And I will also just go ahead and pull the trigger on both my Gengars here and see what else we could do. I could end up bossing up the Charizard, but I think taking out the Pidgeot is my best course here for trying to get me back into the game, because I want to be able to slow them down as much as possible. And so with these Cypher Maniacs code breaking, I'm really trying my best to figure out what else I need to do here to get myself ahead. I decided going for a double Nest Ball is probably okay, because it's going to allow me stuff like Dodrio and then possibly a Fezandipity as well, which I thought would have been a good play. Unfortunately, my opponent is going to go ahead and just boss up my Terapagos raw, which is going to mean I'm going to have to Nest Ball for another Terapagos if I want to re-establish my Area 0. Thankfully, they are playing Pokestops, which is an odd choice for Zard for the most part, but the Pokestop is going to allow me to at least get the Nest Ball that was on top of my deck, and I really don't mind the opportunity to go ahead and rip the Pokestop as well. I think the deck is super item focused, which means I'm going to have a good chance of hitting stuff, and we do. We hit the damage pump, which is actually pretty phenomenal here. With no Fezandipity in the deck, which is something I probably should have realized earlier when I said that statement, we are going to go ahead and just grab a Dodrio instead, which is fine, because I am sitting on a Dodrio in my hand. I meant to say Doduo, my bad. And we do have the boss as well, so I'm just going to go ahead, take my 2 cards here off the prizes, and hopefully this will allow me to set up just a little bit further. We're not too far off from actually getting the knockout here. Like, if worst comes to worst and my next card doesn't draw me into anything, I can go ahead and Dodrio, on average, hit 1 heads off the Silene, and grab a, oh my goodness, what's it called? I can grab the damage pump off my hand, but they go ahead and Iono me. I said, this is honestly, like, way fine, because I'm still going to get the Dodrio drawn like I asked. I have the double turbo energy, which is also, like, good for me. And I have a damage pump as well to even further spread more damage if I need to. That said, everything on my side of the field actually does have damage, so I'm not too worried. I can think about spreading this damage somewhere else, and possibly trying to reduce my opponent's chances of getting a knockout, but I think just establishing even more Pokemon to like attack or get value with is much better, as I'm going to go ahead and research the Gengar away, which I think is fine. I think it gets me there. I do thankfully have enough damage on the field to just take the knockout, so I decided to not do anything else here. I believe there's a chance I got an Ultra Ball for, oh no, I was going to say Ultra Ball for Doduo, but I'm like, I actually think I'm out of Pokemon in the deck. Game Defense and the Doduo here are pretty good pickups off the prizes, because if both these cards are able to come down, then they're going to give me some extra security. Doduo much less so, because at this point we just don't need it for much, but the Fez is definitely a nice inclusion if we get to that point. And what is nice about like the Faz is it'll just allow me to draw if they do take a knockout. But unfortunately for us, we don't really have a whole lot to go off of. I will just go ahead, take some extra card value off the Doduo. I do get a boss's orders, which isn't going to leave much when there's no way for me to take in 2 prizes here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and try silene some resources and hunt the deck. I think this is mostly just like me trying to prep around a Iona if possible, because I am able to stack the top card of the deck. And because I have a Dodrio draw as well. I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what can I set up? Because I can set any 2 cards here that try to get me the value I need. Ultimately, I decided on Area 0 and Prime Catcher, so if they find a way to bump my stadium, then one of the nice things that could happen is I can just check away all the undamaged guys, and then go ahead and use the Area 0, re-get my Gengars going, and then just set up my Zoroark afterwards with the Prime Catcher, hopefully. And even if they aren't able to knock me out here, Prime Catcher will still get me back into a Zoroark VStar, and I should very easily find the knockout. Unfortunately, they do the worst possible thing for me, which is play the unfair stamp. Oops, my bad. That's it. I should have maybe expected that from the Pokestop build. I feel like that's kind of one of the neat parts, is you can just randomly Pokestop an unfair stamp and it'll be really broken for the opponent, but, you know, it is what it is. And then they're going to go ahead and use the Forest Seal so that they just top decked. I don't even know what they grabbed. I hope it's not Charizard or Rare Candy or whatever piece gets them there, but it does seem like that they are just going to leave me in a position where I am unable to do much here, as they haven't evolved the Charizard already. They go for the Blazing Destruction, which is going to force me to discard my Stadium. Oops, my bad. So yeah, the choices are pretty easy here. It should be the Gengar, the Chargebug, and the Zora, because Zora has no niche or purpose anymore. I do think there's maybe a consideration for getting rid of the Doduo here, because I can, it was kind of unlikely I could just Ultra Ball for it, but, you know, here we are, Ultra Balling for it, and thanks to that, as well as these double Trekking Shoes, we are not going to need a whole lot here in order to get the swap out. All I need is a switch or a Jet Energy, and thankfully we draw the Jet Energy here, which is going to allow us to switch in and take the knockout with Zoroark. So us reaching that huge number, and then having a decent backup draw on the back was able to, you know, get us our W there. And then we're on to the final game here. I believe this is against a Chien-Pao, which I've been seeing a lot more of, both here and in our locals, because one of our stronger players has been playing Chien-Pao as of late. It's like, oh, well, I wasn't ready for that. But yeah, I mean, this is an okay start. It kind of sucks going first in every match that you are choosing to go first, because I feel like the turn 1 always feels bad. Like, we're not doing much here. And on top of that, we're a run of fan deck, so when we don't hit the run of fan on the first turn, it's just like, okay, what am I doing here? But it's not the worst case in the world. That said, what is kind of worst case in the world is my opponent unblocking me immediately before I even get to play a game, which kind of sucks, but it could be worse, maybe. As they Iona me and get rid of my research, which is definitely like the worst part happening. Thankfully, though, if they do Itchy Paw me, then they are going to trigger my condition for my Zoroark to work anyways, so, like, who cares? Anyways, we'll just go ahead and put that in the Feasibility, research our hand away with our V-Star ability, and actually get a decent amount of setup here. We have another research going on for us, and even though I'm burning a lot of cards, I feel like the deck is built to just, like, throw stuff away, which is why I'm, like, not worried about any of that, as we're just going to go ahead and pick up another KO here. That said, against the Chien-Pao player, this is definitely not, like, the optimal, line to go, or this isn't, like, the optimal, like, prize lineup that you want to go for, because you kind of just want to nail down Chien-Paos the whole game, or just kill Excaliburs. They do, unfortunately, have to rip an Iona here, which actually, like, means that they might have a hard time pulling together the Rare Candy and the Excalibur, which it seems like they are, because they're not doing anything else at this point. And they are not going to be able to knock me out, which is really good, because I'm staying on a damage pump as well, and I'm just going to be able to spread this damage super easily, get a Dodrio set up, and keep cooking with what I got here. If I can knock out the Chien-Pao, then I'll be so far ahead that I don't think the opponent will have an easy out. That said, them putting some damage on me could be a little scary, but it's not enough for, like, Iron Hands to knock me out, so, you know, I'm not too worried about my position, I suppose. Maybe I am overblowing a little bit, but, you know, we got the Cypher Maniac into the Dodrio off the Trekking Shoes, which will draw us to a Zoroark. So we have everything set up here. And even though I don't have any cards in my hand left, or any like researches or anything, like I'm sitting pretty. Like I've done all my setup, and now it's time for my opponent to figure out what's going on next. And I'm staying on Ultra Ball here, which will allow me to fetch out another Dodrio if I need to, or I can set my third Zoroark, just so I can have the third attacker ready. But at this point, like, I don't know what my opponent's trying to do here. They just don't got a lot cooking for them, as they grab the Lost Vacuum here, which is not a card I often see in Chiapao, but yeah. And the Manatee too, so like, you know, I'm not entirely sure if my opponent knows what's happening. I do. Like, I'm not scared. But for my opponent's sake, like, they might be struggling here, as they're also going to go ahead and dump all their energies and put it onto Illuminion just to get it back in the deck. And then there's really just no hope left for the opponent here, as they're going to have to sacrifice a Manaphy. And honestly, like, the game's just over at this point, so I'll spoil it for you and tell you that the opponent concedes. But if you guys enjoyed that video, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.